Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to my friend. He is the current reigning and defending BCW heavyweight champion. That is blue collar wrestling. For those who don't know, now you know. He's the one and only JustexCiting. What's good, my man?
Man, what's going on, Woods? Finally, bruh. Finally, man.
We're here, and the champ is here. Let's go, champ.
Hey, man, I wanted to apologize on live. I apologize. I know we were trying to set this up, a little whiles back, but, I lost a puppy. It was really sad for me. So.
No, my condolences. I got a pug running around, and he thwarts a lot of my podcast. He's like, "Oh, Daddy's doing the thing with the light and the talking." Oh, let me just rip. Let me just rip all the shit out, like all of it out.
Yeah, man, I breed English Bulldogs, so I have little rolls of fat running around all the time. So.
Oh, dang. Whoa. So, I love that you mentioned that, because I had none other than Georgia Smith, the daughter of the British Bulldog, the late, great British Bulldog. And, granddaughter to Stu Hart and, niece to Brett and Owen and all the Hart clan. But I wanted a Bulldog. I wanted a Matilda. I wanted a Winston. Was that how you kind of got into breeding?
Man, it's actually crazy because, Bulldogs are those dogs that you see everywhere, but you've never really seen in real life too often. So, so when you see them on wrestling, and Davey Boy, and it's a crazy story. It goes along with my training as well, to be quite honest. But I was partially trained by Randy Taylor, who's a Northwest legend, the pimp. He actually wrestled Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, for the IC title when Mr. Perfect was feuding with Davey Boy Smith.
Whoa.
So during their match, Davey Boy, you know how they do the picture-in-picture thing. Yeah. Davey Boy was doing a little promo with his Bulldog. So that was it was kind of ironic that I breed English Bulldogs now, and then my trainer wrestling. It was just it's just kind of linked up. So I've just always been a fan of English Bulldogs. It's just what dog do I want so bad that I don't see? I don't think I've seen a real English Bulldog in real life until a year before I bought one.
Wow. No, and I think that's the thing, and it almost comes with cars, right? You'll never see a damn car on the road. You might see it on a YouTube, whatever, Instagram post, somebody flossing and whatever. And then you thinking about the car, you thinking about buying the car, whatever. And you see that damn car everywhere. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's I never noticed there were that many Jeeps on the road until I bought a Jeep.
Yeah.
Because we do this thing called the Wrangler wave. So every time we pass each other, we're like,
oh gosh, that's hella cool, right? And I'm from NorCal when I use hella. I reside in SoCal and have done so for years, but the hella will come out. But talk about product placement, right? Everybody feels a part of the club that they're doing the Wrangler wave, right? That's good, and that's, speaking of another, born and bred Northwesterner, none other than Brian Danielson. I'm going to call him great. He's one of the all-time greats, right? But you do this, it's almost synonymous with Ric Flair. You go woo, and everybody woo. No, don't care if they're wrestling fans, don't care if they're whatever. Everybody that's a yes.
I've literally wooed in the grocery store, and I've heard somebody woo across the grocery store. That's how that is synonymous, bro. It's synonymous.
No, 100%. Now, we talked about your training, and that I think that's an amazing deal. How many people could say they can they challenged for the IC title, especially against one of the all-time greats in Kurt
All
Hennig,
greats.
former AWA World Champion. I mean, I was watching when ESPN Classics was a thing. I remember just randomly picking up on like the old AWA that they had, the archived and everything.
Yeah.
And damn, he was good even then, man. Teaming with the Starship Coyotes, Scott Hall,
So,
like, damn, they were
so clean.
good.
So
So
clean.
clean.
So clean. Like
Oh my God.
everything looked money. His set in my opinion, he's Dolph's blueprint as far as
Yeah,
selling. Like selling was impeccable from Kurt, bro. Like
yeah, and it wasn't just, I mean, not just Dolph, but I mean, I guess the next evolution. And it's funny because I was talking to Bad Blood, Double B, last night,
my boy.
and yeah, and shout out to Bad Blood.
Yeah.
But it was in the women's rumble. We had so many like evolutions of blonde wrestlers, or even the evolution of like Alicia Fox to Naomi to Bianca Belair,
Yeah.
and it's just like
Boop, boop,
whoa.
boop.
And then we had to stop in obviously Jackie and Jazz, but I mean
Yeah.
that was kind of the lineage,
Yeah.
right? So
Like, I seen that too. I noticed that too. I was like, man.
yeah, and they were all like 3 out of the 5 were there actually competing, and it was just like whoa, and like Tori Wilson to Lana, and it's like that's
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing, 10 years removed,
The blonde game.
Yeah, so I mean, going in that like Kurt Hennig selling type deal, my goodness, you gotta throw Billy Gunn in there, right?
Really?
Billy
Oh hell. Oh,
for a
that
big guy that was a bumping machine.
Billy
Damn.
selling. I honestly, okay, Billy was, I'm an ass man. Like he had charisma off the charts, but I truly feel like his selling was what got him over.
1,000%. And I even liked the float over that he did, and he would kind of
Yeah,
like almost like a long jumper, hurdler and whatever, like just 1 foot on, 1 foot off, and it's just
yeah,
like, and again, there was so much greatness, like you don't even really think about it, And speaking of greatness, Alex Ramirez, shout out to Alex. He says, "Hey, Just X, can I just have your autograph?" Shout out to Alex. I want Alex's autograph, but I also want JustexCiting. I mean, I'm on that Alex Ramirez tip.
hey, Alex, I got you, bro. I got you.
It's
I got you too, Woods. What you talking
yeah,
about, man? What?
yes, hell yes. So I mean, that's awesome that your trainer actually contended for the IC title
Yeah,
against one of the
was.
all-time greats in his prime, right? But I mean, the story for JustexCiting, I mean, it started way longer than that. So take us back to when the young pre-BCW champ basically found pro wrestling.
Okay. Okay. You guys ready for this?
Let's go.
It's a little bit of a journey. So
Let's
walk with
go.
me like I'm Elias. Okay, walk with me like I'm Elias. All right, so all right, so like I believe it was probably like 2015. My niece, I'm a father. All right, so it's just let me get that. Yeah, daddy. But I'm a father, so my niece and my nephew actually live in California. So they visited Washington and for the summer, and I've always been like a wrestling fan, but I was a quote unquote like big league wrestling fan. I didn't really know there was indie wrestling at this point. I just knew, I knew there was a WCW at one point they were gone. I knew about the WWF. I was a huge ECW fan. Huge ECW fan. And besides that, I kind of knew Japan had wrestling, but I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went. So, my niece and nephew are in Washington visiting, and I'm on Facebook. I see, Facebook has the random events.
Yeah.
When I seen pro wrestling, and I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be cool to take them to while they're visiting. Let's do that. And I click go, and I thought it was like a you buy the tickets at the door thing, because I grew up on wrestling. My mom took me to SmackDown when Eddie Guerrero made his like famous speech after winning the title.
I lied.
You know what I mean? So like, and Eddie Guerrero was my favorite wrestler. Favorite wrestler. I mean, only few came next to him, and I'll say Chris Benoit was up there too, as far as a wrestler. As far as a wrestler, he was freaking amazing. But anyways, so I go to the address, and when I go to the address, it's at a park, and I'm driving down the street. I'm like, why are there so many cars here? Like, I'm like, is there a carnival? You know, like why is it so many cars here? Like literally, there's no parking in the park. I had to park like almost a mile down the street with 4 kids. I had my niece, my nephew, my son, and my daughter.
Wow.
And we had to walk all the way to the park. And when we get to the park, it's an open field with the ring in the middle, and I swear 300 people
Wow.
crowding this ring. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? What promotion is this? What kind of wrestling is this? I'm not going to ask questions right now because these kids want to see something. So let's just go. I don't know how I found the event. Trust me. I don't like at this point. I'm clueless. I'm just like, this is weird. So, you know, kids, they make their way up to the front. So I'm weaving through these people trying to keep up with these kids, you know, and I get to the front. And, you know, show's going on, people are coming out, and this guy comes out, some music hits, and I'm like, I think I've seen him before. I think I know this guy. And he comes around, and I'm like, look, I'm like trying to like register his face, because, you know, he's like all in gear, like, but I'm like, I think I know this guy's face. He comes around, gets to like where the kids are, and he looks down. I see something click. I post my kids a lot on social media. So he sees my son. He's like, he looks up. He's like, I know you. like in mid entrance and everything. He was like, I know you. And I'm like, I know you. And lo and behold, it's a guy that I was Facebook friends with randomly.
Wow.
So that's how I seen the event. It was a random Facebook, because he shared the show.
What?
So random. And it just so happens that the guy I'm Facebook friends with, I used to go to the gym with, like, we used to like meet each other at the gym and work out. I did not know he was a wrestler.
Whoa.
So all this is clicking, like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? So he shakes the kids' hands, you know, and the kids look at me and they're like my son's like, Dad, you know him? I'm like, I guess I do. You know, like, I guess I do, son. I guess I do know him. And, you know, show goes through, and he, you know, he wrestles, and the show goes by, and he takes us to the back, and the kids are meeting the wrestlers, taking pictures and all stuff like that. And I was just like, this is like brand new to me, bro. Like, all I know is like, bro, I met you in a gym, but you're like Batman. You know what I mean? like you're like Batman, or like, you know, Superman or somebody. Like, you have like a split personality going on right now. So, you know, like Monday. So that show, I believe that show was on a Saturday, and on Monday, I'm like, at this time I'm a professional dancer. Like, I'm teaching dance classes. I've danced for like Jamie Foxx and Chris Brown before. You know, like, so I'm getting back from teaching a class on Monday. I walk in, and my daughter is watching Monday Night Raw on her own. First time I've ever seen her watch wrestling after the show. She was watching Monday Night Raw on the living room floor, and it just so happens that Sasha Banks and Bailey, and it was like a tag team match or something like that. And she's like crisscross applesauce in front of the TV, bro.
What?
Like, I'm thrown off. Like, I'm like, whoa, this is cool. Okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, let me sit down and watch wrestling with my daughter. So she's like into it, bro. She's like watching it, and shows going through. And I was like, this is cool. I'm watching Monday Night Raw with my daughter, you know, like, hey, like, my grandfather used to watch Monday like wrestling with me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, this is cool. And my daughter's watching it, and then all of a sudden she looks at the TV, and then she looks at me. And she looks at the TV, and then she looks at me. And she says, Daddy, are you going to do that? Swear to God.
Wow.
This is a true story. I swear to God. She said, Daddy, are you going to do that? And I'm like, no. Like, I'm 160 pounds, not the biggest knife in the drawer. I know, I mean, I'm a dancer at this point. Like, I've been dancing for like 12 years at this point, you know? So,
Wow.
like, literally, honestly, I've rarely had a regular 9 to 5 job. Like, I've always been a dancer. Like, even if I was bare bones broke and struggling, I've always kind of gone with passion over politics, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I'm like, no, like, no, daddy can't do that. A week later, literally, she watches. A week later, I get a DM from the dude who is a wrestler, and he's like, "Yo, you got to come train with us." I'm good, bro. Like, I'm good. I'm good. No, okay. I'm good. Another week later, yo, you got to come train with us, bro. Like you dance, you can get it. Like, you'll be good. Me, nah, I'm good, bro. So mind you, this is like 3 weeks since the show. Daughters done watch Raw the next day. Next week, the dude hits me up DM. Next week, he hits me up again. He hits me up again. All right, man. So what days do you guys train? I'm just answering questions to get him to stop asking me.
Yeah.
You know, so like, oh, what day? Okay, I'll be there. He says Sunday. Week later, kids are watching wrestling again. And at this time, not only are they watching wrestling, now she's asking me for a wrestling video game.
Whoa.
That following Sunday, part of my French, but my ass is in training with oh boy.
Wow.
And I started off lucha training at a place called Lucha Volcanica in Seattle. So my origin in training is lucha.
Wow.
So I was doing that for a good year, and lucha was ran at this point in time. The lucha training was ran out of the same place. This place called 3-2-1 Battle was doing shows and training, and they were like, "Hey, won't you come train with us?" I'm like, okay, you know, because some of the workers for lucha work for 3-2-1 too. So I would start going to lucha training, which is, you know, Mexican, Spanish style. And then I would start going, and then like 2 days a week. And then I would go to American style training, like another 2 days a week. So, and 4 days a week I'm training, and I'm also teaching dance classes. I haven't stopped dancing at this point.
Whoa.
Yeah, so and literally I had to stop taking like bigger shows because I'd start prioritizing my training over shows. So I would start exchanging shows for dance classes, because I could teach dance classes from, you know, from when kids get out of school from 3 to freaking 9 o'clock at night, and still have time to, I could make a gap for 2 hours to go wrestling training, get back to a dance studio, teach those kids, go back to my kids, and then rinse and repeat. So I'm like 2 years into my training now. And now it's like October 16th, and there's a 3-2-1 Battle that training story is crazy in itself with 3-2-1 Battle, but they're throwing a Halloween show, and there's this guy locally that nobody likes to work. I'm not gonna put him out there like that, but nobody wanted to work him, so he came, and nobody wanted to work him, so he didn't have a match. My trainer's like, Spencer, that's my shoot name. Sorry, people. But he's like, do you have your gear? I'm like, yeah. I used to always keep nobody told me always have your gear, but I used to always have my gear in the back of my Jeep. Yeah, and at this point in time, my gear were some basketball shorts, some knee pads, some kick pads, and some wrestling shoes.
Yeah.
that was my gear at the point. So I throw on those on my gear, and I work. I pretty much sell for the guy. I take a whole bunch of chops, and I'm just selling. Whatever. Boom. That was my first match. After that, literally that. So that was it's probably like no more than like 8 minutes. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But also got in some offense, so I'll thank him for that. I mean, like, vets in the game. Just
Yeah.
like, yeah. But let me get some good stumps in. Take him down. So it was a good. He was very respectful to me. Being considerate. So thank you, because not all vets are like that. But yeah. So that was my first match, October 16th, 2016. And then after that, I was really working pretty much almost regularly for 321.
Wow. And theoretically speaking, you're only months into your training, but you were, in many respects, and still are in your athletic prime, right? Oh,
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu, we have Richie and Gio Martinez. They're brothers, right? Gio and Boogie, the Boogeyman. Yeah, absolutely. And they came from they were b-boys, right? They were b-boys, and they adapted that to jiu-jitsu, all the flexibility and everything, where a lot of fighters and jiu-jitsu practitioners, they're essentially doing yoga and different things for flexibility.
For
But
sure.
as a dancer, you kind of already had that built in. So
Yeah.
months into your training, and the fact that I don't want to gloss over the fact that you did American style pro wrestling and lucha around the same time, and you were based in lucha, because that is a very hard thing to do, which I think your dancing background, and being kind of ambidextrous and using both sides of your brain and
Yeah.
body, it helped you, because lucha, everything's done on the left, right? Arm drags and everything, and then everything else is done on the right in American style pro wrestling. And even the greats, like the aforementioned Eddie Guerrero, the Rey Mysterio, all of them, essentially had trouble, doing that. And you were doing that right from the jump. And I think that is incredible. And
Honestly,
that's, yeah.
I didn't know. Like, now that I've been wrestling for a while, I didn't know how big of a deal. I mean, I don't mean it, that kind of sounded kind of like I was tooting my horn, but I'm not. But I didn't know how big of a deal that was.
Yeah.
So when I'm started like working matches, I started having to ask people like, so can you work lucha? You know what I mean? Like, can you? No, okay, that's fine. No, work, because instantly everybody kind of in this area, in the local area, knew I started in lucha. So they were always concerned, like I was so stuck on that. I'm like, no, like I've done lucha, trained with 321, Randy Taylor, and then later on down the line, Bob Evans. So
Whoa, Brutal Bob.
Brutal Bob is my
Oh.
mentor and partial trainer. That's my boy. I'm one of Bob's boys. He made me better.
Man, Don McGuire of the Fighters always says, "Oh, I thought it was Snoop Dogg at first." That's not a bad thing.
Oh my God! See, bro, Don. There's a part of my gimmick that I started just purely based on that saying. So for a while, I started coming out to "What's My Motherfucking Name" by Snoop Dogg.
Ah, there you go.
So then, after that, okay, you guys know those dominatrix puppy masks?
Yeah, of course.
Those dog face masks?
Yeah, those exist.
Every time somebody would call me like a dog something, I would add dog stuff to my gimmick, like as a rib.
Whoa.
So So like I was just ribbing the fans as I went. So they'd be like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg." So then for a while, I was coming out with like a bandana, and I had my hair braided, and they'd be like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg," and then I would come out to like a Snoop Dogg song with my hair braided, and they'd be like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg,"
Damn.
and then for a while, I was getting a dog chant. So then that's when I bought a dominatrix mask that was just a puppy, like
Yeah, yeah.
and I started wearing that out for my entrances. That caught on at BCW, and I had literally like 3 rows of furries.
What? What?
3 rows of furries came to the show, and we were like,
What?
and had a sign that said "Furry Support Justice."
I
So
mean,
like, I just
no, but I love it, right? Because you don't know what's going to catch on, especially with as many, we're talking just 2016, right? I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago, but it's not that long, right? You have social media, you have all of that, right? And you don't know what's going to connect with everybody. Like every fighter that I try to have on, like I'll ask like a MMA question or whatever, like after wake up, like what do you like to eat and whatever,
yeah,
or after your fight,
like
because there's foodies, right? Foodies exist. That's a whole nother subgenre. I
yep.
mean, there's 80 Netflix shows just on food,
Just
right?
itself, like
Like
yeah,
yeah, 30. There's Food Network, right? So you never know somebody that might not watch MMA, might not watch pro wrestling or whatever, but they're a foodie and they pick up on that just in the ether or whatever. It got shared with a friend. I mean, your wrestling career got started because a post on social media. You don't know somebody posting this show. Here's that, and like, I don't really know what this is, but they like to fight the
but
same
yeah,
food as me, so I'm gonna go see them, and furries. That's a big subculture. I mean, they have conventions and stuff like that, and
man, Comic Cons they take over, bro.
over, over, and especially, the fact that you remember with the Undertaker when he started calling everybody the creatures of the night. You saw what ended up becoming the goth movement
Yeah,
show up for
yeah, they
Undertaker.
came through in full force.
Yes, yes. So I mean, I think that's brilliant, and also, okay, so you got your lucha, you got your American style pro wrestling, and then you got like old school mentors, right? Like Rudo Bob and Randy, right? Which that's the pro wrestling sphere, right? I
Yeah,
mean, when you look at Harley Race and how he got started, and again, it Harley Race. I'm a huge Harley Race mark. Like I'm as
yeah,
big a Harley
nice.
Race mark as you can get, right? And the thing about it is, how he started, and he would he would essentially have to drive around like Happy Humphrey, the 500-pound big dude, whatever, and like what? Imagine. Let me break this down for you, Just X, right? This is like 1950, 1960, right? And this Happy Humphrey fella was like 500 pounds. There's no 500-pound accommodations that you can get for a hotel room or a shower or whatever.
Yeah, not
We
good.
heard about like 20 years later or 10 to 20 years later, Andre the Giant having hardships and everything,
Yeah,
right? So
finding
with that all being said, Harley Race started out as a driver to Happy Humphrey and would have to wash that dude's ass in the middle of a damn road with a garden hose and a damn, what is it, the mop?
the
Yeah,
little
the gimmick, yeah.
yeah,
And it's just like,
legit.
yeah, So and Don McGuire says it's dope. You're humble. He's interviewed Bobby Lashley, and that dude just got a huge arrogant ego.
Oh,
That's unfortunate.
yeah, it's unfortunate, man. I mean, I really can't really. I'm just not that type of person, man. I'm just positive energy over everything. If you ask, my boy Bad Blood, tag team partner, like really, I'm just like a vast team player. Like I want to play a position wherever I'm at, and as long as you'll let me play that position, I'm gonna take that ball, and then I'm gonna try to score with it. I just really like I'm just endeared and in love and adorned this business. So I respect it from top to bottom. You know, like my mentors kind of instilled that in me. And then my experiences along the way kind of instilled that in me. And then, not to mention training at New Japan Dojo instilled that in me. So it's just who I am, man.
Man, if you're gonna have less than 5 years, less than half of a decade, experience in pro wrestling, I think you had this background, right, of dancing. So I mean, I'm sorry, dancers are athletes, right? Cheerleaders and fucking throwing people in the air. That's
They
athletic.
call them athletes of the gods, man. Athletes of the
Just
gods.
No, 100%. And the fact that you had that coming in, that's almost like MMA fighter coming in with a wrestling background. I don't think there could be a better base that you could come in with, and then you got again the finishing touches. Not just. I mean, the formative ability came from lucha, came from American style pro wrestling, and then you got the finishing,
The
powder is
Salt
a
Bay.
sprinkled. Yeah, that's Salt Bay of the old tenured vets, and learning under double B bad blood. That's as complete as it gets, and even the New Japan Dojo, that's huge, right? And especially for somebody of your experience, right, to get that training. I think New Japan, in terms of their storytelling, right, and we're not even talking about the ring work. We're talking about the young lions, the young boys, right? That essentially, it takes from the
Shout out to
Japanese.
Clark. Shout out to my boy Clark.
Clark Connors. Yeah.
Got you. And then my boy Kendricks, got you.
Yeah.
You dope,
Yes.
boy. I see you. My boy DKC. I see
Yes.
you. My boy,
they're tearing it up. They're tearing it up. So I mean, if you guys don't have a New Japan World subscription, I don't know what you're missing. But just the story, right? You start out a young lion, right? And you get, like darker than the dark match, under the dark match, right? And it's just like YouTube, black trunks, black tights, black boots and everything like that. You only got 5 moves. Everybody talks about John Cena and the 5 moves of doom, but it's how you can get, and everybody has the same 5 moves, right? Just like this, right? Anybody could theoretically be a podcaster. You walk into Best Buy and there's a section. You spend $80 to $100 on Amazon Prime and you get the gear like right delivered to your door, right? It's how you tell the story with what you have at your disposal. And I think so that deal, right? And then you get a couple wins over other young lions, and then they pair you up with a vet, usually like, Tiger Mask 4 or what have you, right? And that's, yeah, absolutely. Satoshi Kojima, but people that have been there, right? That have been, headlining Tokyo Domes and whatever, and you're learning from them like right off the bat, right? And then after that, you go on an excursion, you go to America, you go to Mexico, you go to Germany and whatever, learn different styles of wrestling and what have you. And then you come back and now you got your gimmick. And it's just like, and you're the biggest shit ever. You're like, that's ever. Like, you can't tell me a better storyline. That's how the Von Erichs got over, because people saw Fritz, right? In Texas, evil German, whatever, post World War II and everything like that. But then when he started to turn face, and then the kids who started going like towards being him again. Yeah, and even in baseball, I mean, they were all stud athletes. Take the wrestling away. David Von Erich, Kerry Von Erich, they are all stud athletes in track and football and whatever. So if you're in Texas, right? If you're in Texas and you see the name and whatever, and then now you see them on your TV screen, you read about them in the newspaper and whatever, you feel a part. They are a part of you.
You witness their journey, you know what I mean?
But that's where, like, it's amazing, because I mean, in almost 5 years, you crammed like almost a decade's worth of experience right from the jump, whether you knew it or not. And again, I love outliers. What if that you had never became friends on Facebook in a time where everybody wants to delete people from Facebook and all this whatever, right?
It's really weird, man. It's like a freaking it's like Back to the Future when you have to set up everything. You know what I mean? Like it was really like, now that I think about it, like the story itself is really weird. So that's why I'm like, okay, you guys ready for all this? Because there's a lot of details You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's crazy. It's crazy. Like everything comes around full circle, man. As long as you like have good energy, it comes around
Yeah.
full circle a little bit faster, maybe. You know, so
Yeah, no, I mean that's it, But Don McGuire says you're like CM Punk, which is a huge, huge compliment. And
hey,
yeah, remain humble. I love it. And I've met CM Punk. He's not a bad guy. He's really
he,
not.
he's
He's a
he's
good guy.
extremely intelligent, bro.
Yes, he is.
He's extremely intelligent, bro.
So if he doesn't like you, that means you kind of coming with that bullshit, and he just doesn't want
He
to.
just sees
Whatever.
through it. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah. So, which, I mean, speaking about full circle, all right, Don McGuire, he also wants to know, being inspired by your daughter, how has that changed your growth in wrestling?
man, really, to be honest, um, my kids are my biggest fans. Before COVID hit, BCW in Portland ran every Sunday. So every Sunday, my daughter is front and center, right behind the owner. Like they have their own specific chairs, literally, in the venue where they're sat like right by the bell kid and the owner. And every time like the crowd pops, I can always hear them. Like it's like I don't know, it's weird. It's like when your parents' keys, how you
Yeah.
can always distinguish
Hmm.
your parents' keys out of any other key sound. It's them. Like they're in BCW. They're weekly. There's 250, 300 people plus. Out of all those people, I can hear those voices. Like they're always standing up. So really they push like they can't wait for shows to start up again. To me is like, man, I can't wait for the shows to start up so we can go back on road trips and stuff. Like she likes the business, she loves the fans, she loves the workers, she loves the process of getting to shows. She loves the setup. She just loves the business. Aside from being, oh, that's Justix kid, and then people buying like sodas and stuff. Aside from that part, but she just likes the process. So hey, that's how she's pretty much inspired me, bro. Like she's the one who started it. So
That, well, and I love that. I love that for so many reasons, so many, different dynamics, right? But I mean, it shows where the business has changed, right? Where, Ted DiBiase in his book, he was talking about, that was a part of, obviously there was a lot thrown at him. I mean, literally a hand tailored, gimmick that is Vince McMahon, the $1 million man. He gets that and he can do whatever he wants, right? But I mean, a part of that was the fact, like when he started in Mid South with Bill Watts. I
yeah,
remember this excerpt from his book, and he was just like, you know, he wanted to call Bill Watts because he couldn't make it to the show, and Eric, a young Eric, and basically Watts' son, and it's like, Dad can't really come to the phone right now. What's he doing? Oh, he's just sitting by the pool, grilling some steaks and whatever. And that infuriated a young, Ted DiBiase because he had sons and what have you, and that was you couldn't do that, right? So the fact that you could take your kids on road trips, like that's so amazing, right? That's so amazing, and the fact that the late great Johnny Huber, Brody Lee, Luke
yeah,
Harper,
peace.
I just watched the AEW podcast with his wife Amanda, and you got the feeling like, like she's gotten some flack online about, her son, essentially her 8-year-old son being signed to a contract or whatever, and she's like, no, what you don't understand is, I mean, obviously he lost his dad, and this is the thing that him and his dad did together, right?
Yeah,
So if he didn't want to, then we'd be done with this.
pull the
Like we
plug
would
on
be
it.
done.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
obviously that little boy is happy because he gets to remember his dad and take up his dad's mantle literally as the leader and what his dad was doing. Like, get off her. Like that. Sorry, that kind of irritated me
yeah,
when you said that. But
yes,
like, bro, like if I. My child is fully capable of saying, "Daddy, I don't want to do this." And as soon as they do that, what happens? They don't do that and we're out of there. It can be from a show. I've been at shows where my daughter felt uncomfortable. Not, you know what I mean? Like, I've been at shows where my daughter felt uncomfortable. I was like, well, I will come here and then we're going to go. You know what I mean? So let that woman soothe her son however her son needs to be soothed. And this is, if this makes him feel better, because he can literally be his dad now. Literally, that's how you have to think about it. He's being his dad. Like, that's there to a little boy who actually has a dope. So I was about to cuss. Dope freaking dad.
Yeah, fuck yeah. That's
dope
it. Bring
ass
it.
fucking dad. Like, that means a lot to that kid. So every freaking week, he gets to be his dad, yo. So people need to shut up. Like, for real, stop trying to be screen parents. Stop, like, bro, you're not that little boy. Like, if my dad passed and my dad was super cool, I'm trying to be him. Like, that's the everlasting saying. I want to be like you when I grow up. He doesn't have to be like his dad. He doesn't have to grow up to be like his dad now. He can be like his dad now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I love it. I love it. You know, and you know, my dad, right? My dad was a musician, and it's so crazy. So there he is, right there, kind of pointing off into the distance. Like when we left the Bay Area, like, and the thing about it, and this is might be the reason why I kind of gravitate towards artists, right? Mixed martial artists, pro wrestlers, what have you. It's because I know that, right? I mean, I remember Aladdin came out and I was like, that was so earth shattering to me because I was a street kid, right? I mean, literally, my dad played music on Fisherman's Wharf and later Ghirardelli Square. Just him and the saxophone player, him on the keyboard and the saxophone player. I couldn't play sports. I couldn't do anything because the weekends when the games happened, that was dad's time to work because, you know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's when tourists descended upon San Francisco and whatever. So that was dad's work. So I couldn't do anything, you know, no soccer, no nothing, right? So, you know, now that he's passed away, and he, you know, and my heart goes out to the Huber family because, like, same thing, similar, like, Christmas time, dad passed away. My dad passed away Christmas of 2010, you know, and like, a lot of this is like, A, you know, hopefully him and moms will be proud, and then B, if anything should happen to me, my kids, my grandkids, everybody, they're not just going to see me, right? It's not just a picture that can't talk like you. They're going to see me, hear me, look at me, and knowing that I'm doing the thing that I love, talking to the people that I care about.
Exactly.
And whatever this is for them, hopefully they go in their grief and in their sorrow, because there's no wrong way to grieve.
None.
They do what this is for me, for them.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just baffling that people feel like we do live in an age where people feel like they know what's good for other people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know.
Yeah, you know,
I stopped caring. I really did. I stopped caring about what I felt that you should feel, how I live, how I voted. I don't care how you voted. I don't care what you protest for, against, like, whatever. Do you? You know, because the thing about it is life is so damn hard, right? If you can figure out, if you can figure out some glimmer of hope, go for it, man. Just go for it. Whatever you want to identify with, cool. Like, whatever. Just do it. Just do it.
Something. Like, there's too many people not sitting around doing anything, but feel like they have the right to talk about everything. It's like, nah, you're not in my shoes, bro. You're not in my shoes, bro.
Like, wait. You mean the right to censor is actually a thing and not just a wrestling gimmick?
No, that's a real thing.
Wait, you mean we just came out of a presidency here in the States with the president being a WWE Hall of Famer?
The right to censor was a real life gimmick.
Yeah, but then it's hilarious as hell because I go on Instagram or whatever, and there goes the Godfather / Good Father just lighting blunts, like, all the time. His lung capacity is like a whale. Good
Bro,
lord.
he's like a freaking freight train on a runaway rail, bro. He's
Yeah.
freaking going. He's going all the time. Like, bro, I wonder what a locker room with him's like. Him, RVD, that
Oh
little.
god. Oh yeah, it's over. It's over. Oh, throw in Matt Seidel.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's the
boom! You got a little
yeah.
Salt Bay and Madison
Yeah,
Seidel in there.
Seidel. And everybody's going to a different planet, you know. You thought the shooting star press and the what is it, the frog star, the 5-star frog slash, you thought they got height on that.
Open your
Woo.
third eye.
Yeah. Woo. That needs to be a reality show. Book it, WWE. God, that needs to happen. That so needs to happen. But yeah, and you traveled, you were speaking about the road trips with your daughter and what have you. Uh, do you have any like fun memories, whether it be with your kids or just wrestling in matches and go like, oh my god, like I was like less than 5 years ago, I
Man,
didn't even think about doing this, but like I'm here.
man, so many. like it's. Well, I don't know if it's so many really, but it's just there's just a lot going in my head. Like first and foremost, I would say probably wrestling TJ Perkins. That was freaking crazy to me. Like, and it was like he freshly left WWE on his own terms. So everybody wanted to wrestle him. Everybody wanted him. And he was like, well, first stop, you. I'm like, oh, me?
Yeah,
What did I do? You know? Like, but man, that was freaking amazing. And my mom got to watch me wrestle him. So yeah, so that was probably like, aside from wrestling Bob, that was probably like number one on the list. Like it was like it didn't feel real. Like the ending of the match, he rolls me over a schoolboy, then I roll him back, and it goes. It slowed down. Like everything slowed down. It was like 1, 2, 3. I'm like, oh shit! I just beat JJP. You know what I mean?
wow.
Like in my head, I'm like, oh my god! Like I just wrestled TJ freaking Perkins, yo. Like manic suicide, like
Yeah,
whatever you want to call him. I wrestled him, and I didn't just
yeah.
wrestle him. I didn't like, I won. You know what I mean? Like I got put over. So it's like, I think that's like my number one thing so far. I got a few other matches that I'm trying to do that are gonna be up there too, and Shane Helms.
Yeah,
I I've always been a fan of the Sugar era. The Sugar era.
yeah. Oh yeah.
As soon as he broke out the vertebraker, it was a
Oh
wrap.
god.
It was a wrap. I was in
Yeah,
Shane Helms, you are the shit, bro.
yeah.
You're like, as soon as he broke that out, no, there's no Eddie Guerrero, Shane Helms, aforementioned, Chris Benoit. Even though I was a huge ECW fan and my name, I'll just say it, is a spinoff of who?
Just incredible.
Boom. Yes, because my favorite tag team was
Impact players.
Boom. That's right. So that's where I got my name. The good old Just Incredible. Because Lance Storm I was actually a bigger fan of Lance Storm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
100%.
my thing is I wanted to be Lance Storm's partner. So I wanted to be Just Incredible. So in order to be better than Just Incredible, I had to be Just Exciting. You know what I mean? So that's how I came up with my name. And I've literally used that name since I was wrestling my cousins, like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. We all had names. And then my cousin was like, what's your name? I was like, I don't know. I'm Just Exciting. And then ever since then, when I grew up, time passed, the booker at 321 was like, so what's your name going to be? I was like, Just Exciting. like literally, I reverted back to a kid. I
But
reverted back to child me, and I was like,
but at a time where people are trying to figure things out, right? I that's what I feel. I've always loved pro wrestling, right? I mean, I would credit, pro wrestling to me even getting in MMA, right? Because if not for Dan Severn, and remember what we knew about the Hearts, right? Stu Hart had a shit ton of kids, all of them were wrestlers, and all the girls married wrestlers, right? Like, and he would just stretch everybody in the dungeon.
and
I was like,
all of them could kick your ass.
yeah, all of them could kick your ass. Stu, would stretch, football players, soccer players, weightlifters, and then one time of the year when they had the Calgary Stampede,
Yeah.
the wrestling bear, and he fucking choked out the bear. At that moment, I was just like, the fuck Superman, fuck all this shit. I want to. That dude who's born like me could choke out a bear, which is not born like me. Fuck everything else, man. So when I
Choke the shit out that.
choke the shit out of the bear. Like what the. So for me, when Dan Severn came out with 3 non-WWE WWF titles, right, and of all the things you knew about the Hearts, everything that you knew about Stu, and I mean even Brett, who's the champ, and Brett is my guy. Brett and Motch, those are my two. Everybody else comes after, right? But even Brett would tell you Owen was better than me because he could do the lucha shit. He could do the Japanese strong style. Like Owen was better than me, right?
Owen was the bit. Like Owen was freaking.
He was phenomenal, man. God, I mean, I watch matches with tears in my eyes, and everybody downs that fucking period of like the new era, the new generation, or whatever. That was my favorite fucking thing. Wrestling clowns, fucking TL Hopper, yeah, like Sparky Plug and shit like that. Like I was all in, and then on top, you had Brett versus Owen. I had a little sister that might have annoyed me, so
Sharpshooter.
yes. Oh my god, my sister is like an MVP because how many Razor's Edge, fucking Bob Backlund crossface chicken wing when Backlund fucking you can still do that shit in MMA and jiu-jitsu. The crossface, that's a fucking legit fucking move, right? So. And she went through it all. So shout out to my sister. Good Lord. But again, Severn coming, just fucking playing whatever, and, wet t-shirt, wet gray t-shirt, regular, looked like he was from the 1920s.
Yeah, the big old thick.
You fucking mustache and what have you. And he comes with Jim Cornette. And Jim Ross is talking like, oh, cage fighting champion. And I'm like, UFC. Is that like WCW? Is it a different type of wrestling?
Yeah, I was like,
right. And he went to the fucking ring on Shotgun Saturday Night and fucking like ragdoll fucking Owen. Everything that I knew at that moment was like,
just like,
what the fuck just happened? Right? So that's it, and then Dan Severn, so for me, and that's actually also what, I started when Dr. Death, whatever. I knew I saw him in WCW, whatever, but I started tape trading and fucking him and Terry Gordy, the fucking Miracle Violence connection in Japan, and all of that shit. So again, like if not for wrestling, I don't know if I would be doing any of the shit that I've done. No, 100%.
Yeah, I remember. But what's even crazy, because when I was, I grew up and became a dancer and all this other stuff like this. But my grandfather used to take me and my cousins to wrestling. Like back in the day. You know what I mean? Like back when like even nosebleed seats were good seats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I remember, it was when DX was around and China was there and everything. And one time I used to always be Badass Billy Gunn or X-Pac. So, Badass Billy Gunn, he had the pile driver.
Yeah.
I like freaking like 10, like something like that. So I tried to pile drive my cousin, but I had his shoulders cupped in my hands like this.
Wow, good.
So then when I drop him and his body weight pushes my thumb to my wrist. But yeah, so yeah, that was a childhood little wrestling story there. And
But even then, you were a safe worker, though.
you're
You'd
right.
rather
Yeah,
injure
see,
yourself than.
I was trying to be somebody who's a safe worker, but yeah. And then the thing is back during that time, I remember now. I asked my grandfather to build me a wrestling ring in the back of his house because it was like back when like the VHSs were coming out,
Yeah.
and that's what China said that she had somebody do for her. Like they put a ring somewhere for her, and I was like, well, if she can do it, I want somebody to do it for me. You know what I mean? So I asked my grandfather when I was like 10 years old, 9 years old, if he would build me a wrestling ring in the backyard. I thought wrestling rings were all wood. I thought
Wow.
wrestling rings were all wood. So I was like, hey, grandfather's good with his hands. He knows how to build stuff. He can build me an all wood wrestling ring. And that's that. But that never happened. But look at me now.
Yeah, and I don't fault you for wanting that. I mean, again, going back to the Hearts, the Hart kids, they didn't have a jungle gym. They had the wrestling ring out back, so I mean, you weren't wrong, right? And Calgary is a lot closer to the Pacific Northwest than, I don't know, LA is. So I think you were on something,
Yeah,
whether you knew it or not.
yeah. I mean, now that wrestling, I think a lot of things were just leading me down to the ring, man. Like when it comes down to it, it was just leading me to the ring. Like my dancing, I felt instantly that was like a good like transition because it was literally how I approached it. So for a while in my wrestling, I can't lie, for a while in my wrestling, my timing was like delayed because in dancing, like say if you're dancing with a crew, that's how I took it as first is you're dancing with a crew. So if you're dancing with a crew, a lot of things rely on other people to do first in order for you to start.
Mm-hmm.
So a person like you'll be waiting for your partner to run in and hit a double backflip and then another flip and then he lands on another flip and then that's when you come in. So a lot of times that's what I was doing. Like I would wait for something to happen and then my timing would be like now I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was a little bit more, meshed and close together, but I was literally thinking like dance when I first started. So I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, duck this, hit the ropes, and like
Yeah.
literally that's how I was thinking. But so like now I think like now I use kind of like that kind of choreography aspect
Yeah.
in my matches to kind of like I'm not even a big call the match before the match type person.
That's
Like
good.
I've learned like how I started was kind of like really like that, but I wasn't really feeling that vibe because a lot of times where I was, people would forget their spots.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, like I would have a super dope spot. Like okay, well if you guys are all putting your spots out there, I guess I'll you can't just be like leave them clueless. So I'm like okay, well if you guys are gonna freaking put together a match, okay, well I guess I'll do this. So but then somebody forget their spot and then he'd be like
Yeah.
okay, so now I kind of translated the steps and I kind of like took that away, but then I added the it's kind of like performance aspect where you kind of understand crescendos like a movie
Yeah.
and action scenes and then you bring it down and then you got to pull the heartstrings and then you loosen them up a little, like that whole thing, like just get them in their feels, get them out their feels, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what I've been using, and I hopefully people that have been watching, they like, but it was a pretty significant experience to use during the transition.
Yeah. That's, oh my God. There's so much that I love because, again, calling it in the ring, that's the way that it used to be done, right? And,
Yeah,
everybody that wants to do high spot, again, it pisses me off to no end when I see a super kick, what I see a DDT, right? And now we're even seeing stunners as transition moves. Like that's a
I
finish.
I have literally done. I can remember. I've only done like two. No, I've only done two DDTs in my whole career. Two, and that was probably when I was a rookie. I've only done super kicks to like stop somebody, and then it's not like a super kick, pin, kick out. Like I've only like, okay, you're done, or like on the
Yeah,
outside where I know it doesn't matter. You know, I
that's
can't
the
pin nobody on the
fatality.
outside.
That's
You
the
know what I mean?
finish
Like,
him.
bro, if I run and kick you in your face,
Hmm.
you're not gonna get up.
Right.
So I'm not gonna use that as a basic transition move.
Hmm.
Like if I gather momentum and then
Yeah.
freaking boot you in the face,
Yeah. Yeah. You're dead. Your
you're dead.
face is gated. I mean,
You're
MVP, right?
stiff,
Michael Venom Page, right?
bro.
Right, and that knee to Cyborg's head literally
Dude,
caved it in.
caved his head in.
Right.
Like, bro, if I super kick you in real life, your arms are stiff. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
like
That's it. Yeah, and it's just, but again, you know, you can do all the flashy moves and everything. Does anybody care about what you're doing?
you gotta
You
make
know,
it care.
that's it.
Care. Like that's one thing that Bob really, really told me. He was like, yo, well, Bob did say yo, but he's like, you could do, he's like, you have all the flashy stuff. He was like, now you have to make them care about your flashy stuff.
Yep.
He's like, so now you gotta like, don't just do it because you can, do it when you need to, or you know, or you should. I'm like, okay, so that's really where I got my calling it on the fly, or just like minimal calling from, was from Bob and Randy. Like Lucha is really kind of like, once you know a few spots, you kind of know almost everything. Like
Yeah.
all the spots is like, okay, Kose.
Yeah.
So, you know, so but like, I don't know, I kind of like the organic feels. I like being able to kind of like pick and choose when I'm gonna give them dessert. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's again the mark of a great performer, you know, and you bring that over coming from dance because it's not just the moves. Same thing, right? Not just the moves. You got to make them care about the fucking
Care
moves
about
that you're doing.
air.
There's
Pointless.
that question.
It makes no like it makes no sense that if you do a freaking 758 and
Yeah.
like you're on top of the world, like, okay, you know what I mean? Like,
But you did it to classical music or a tango. What the fuck?
you know what I mean?
Right?
Like, geez, like, okay, great. But
Yeah.
when you're on the brink of freaking dying, and like, that's why something as simple as a super kick is so vital. Like,
Hmm.
if you're freaking, like, you know, like say in the movies when the villain is like pummeling the good guy, and then he reaches down and just drags him up, and the good guy can't even freaking stand. He's like, he's like talking down to him, like, yeah, you already knew I was gonna kill you. And he's like, nah, yeah. And then he freaking just has one freaking final burst of fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that freaking matters. That makes him care. That's like, yes.
That is no 1,000%. I can, and Bad Anthony, yeah, shout out to you, good sir, and check out Bad Anthony Good Finance on YouTube. Some of the best financial advice that you're gonna get. So subscribe to that dude.
Definitely need that.
That's a good brother. Again, so he's a medical professional. He's a professional MMA fighter, and he's got his shit in order in terms of finance. Like, you don't get any better. So,
Like, bro,
Bad Anthony.
he can show you how to whoop ass and save money.
Yeah. And diagnose you when he whooped your ass.
Yeah. Say you have a concussion after
Yeah.
he whipped your ass.
Yeah.
And help you save money because you can't work because he whipped your
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah. So that's Bad Anthony Good Finance. So shout out to you, good sir. And Don McGuire says, Dan Severn is a tremendous brother in my life. That's awesome. That's awesome. And he says that Pepe Gomez, Pat Patterson, and Asax Calhoun were the creation of wrestling for him in his day, which none of them did super kicks 80 million times, and they got over. They drew money.
None.
Just say it.
Heart punch.
Just say it. Yeah, I'm just saying. Gut punch. Fuck yeah. Dude, I want to see gut punches and claws everywhere. Like
Bro,
I will love Chris Masters forever and a day for bringing back a fucking full Nelson, and that's a finish.
bro. How many times have your relatives gotten you in a full Nelson and you were like, just let me go, man. I can't.
I can't.
Okay? I give up, bro. Like
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
get out. Like just like that's legit. Like
That's
bro.
fucking legit. Yeah. So, yeah, man. I'm so glad to have you here, because there's something. It's not just a moniker, right? And
Yeah.
you might be trying to take from Just Incredible, at least in terms of the name creation, because of influence by a certain Calgary, Alberta's, Canada person in Lance Storm, right? But
Man,
you remind me of another Calgarian, Bret Hart. The
what?
way that you see matches, I'm going to say this right here. The way that you see matches, when you look and listen back to anything that Bret has ever done, he saw the wrestling as a cinematic movie. And you got to remember, when Bret was going to school at the Calgary Community College or whatever, he went for film. That's what he went. That's what he went.
I heard that, but I didn't know if it was true. Okay, you confirmed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. You remind me of Bret, dude. Like you remind me the way that you see things. And that's from my lips to your ears, my man. Like that's
No, thank
that's
you.
it. That's as
Knowing that
big
you're
as
a Bret Hart guy.
my son's name is Owen.
See. Knowing you're a Bret Hart guy, that does mean like more than a lot, bro. Like, thank you.
I'm saying it. I was gonna tell you off air, but I feel compelled to say it. I want everybody to hear it because again, that's the thing. And again, I'm not saying it because of hyperbole or what have you, but it's just there's so many things there. The lucha stuff, and you care about the lucha stuff because again, you watch Eddie Guerrero and all that. The American style again. Brutal Bob Evans, put him in the Google machine, put him in the YouTube machine, and know what we're talking about, right? And and you got some old school like Portland. Again, Portland was a hotbed. Look no further. We talked about Doink the Clown, right? Doink the Clown, Matt Bourne. The Bournes ruled Portland.
Another little tidbit. I am the longest reigning Pacific Northwest TV champion, other than the one. Actually, there's two people ahead of me. One's my boy Lone Star. I got it. I didn't forget about you, bro. Lone Star. But I have reigned longer than the one and only Scotty the Body, aka
Raven. Oh my God. That is that's goosebumps, folks. That's
right?
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I literally have an NWA replica that is signed. And when it was done, they said like this damn thing is gonna blow to hell because I've got Superstar Billy Graham, Roddy Piper, Terry Funk, Harley Race, Shane Douglas, and Raven. That is the most eclectic NWA champions. I mean, I short of the Colorado Kid, Mike Rapata, and maybe Sabu. Right, that is the most eclectic group of, and I know that Piper and Superstar weren't NWA champions, but they, Superstar was in Mid Atlantic, and when I presented it to Roddy, again another Portland legend, I mean icon, right? Yeah, right. And I presented it to him, and I said, Rod, like, would you mind signing this? What does this mean to you? And he goes, this. And I knew, and he mentioned Starcade, him and Valentine, that dog collar match.
Yeah.
And with Valentine took a bunch of chain and clipped it in his ear, and he never recovered his earring.
No, he never did.
That's why when people say wrestling's fake, I'm like, how the fuck? What are we doing? Like,
I get so irritated with that now. I'm like, bro, I've been rocked. So can't nobody tell me wrestling's fake.
Yes.
Like I've been stiffed in power bombs. I've taken 450 knees to the chest when it was supposed to be a 450 splash.
Hmm.
I've taken freaking bad freaking DDTs for people who didn't know how to fall correctly. Like, bro, no,
Yeah.
like that's no. Like
Th-
this is a dramatic combat sport. I don't
It
care.
is. No, absolutely. And it's so funny because like wrestling fans for the most part don't like MMA, right? MMA fans for
Um,
sure might not like pro wrestling. But you talk to MMA fighters, they love pro wrestling.
they
Talk to
love
pro
it.
wrestlers, they love MMA. It's the craziest fucking thing, right? And it's just like but they're again, what was pro wrestling? Everything that you talk about with like, like now you don't even have to be an MMA fighter to be a grappler. Like there's big competitions where you could just be a jiu-jitsu
A jiu-jitsu
specialist.
guy,
Right, right.
tempo
And
guy,
go.
you know.
Yeah. And guess what? That very thing, right? That very thing, every Eddie Bravo Invitational, every fight to win, all of these big money tournaments. Guess what? That was done 100 years ago with Gotch and Hackenschmidt. And you know what that was called?
Yep.
Oh, pro wrestling.
I was like, pro wrestling.
We wouldn't have TV. We wouldn't have live sports on TV, on the radio, if not for pro wrestling. Everybody was like, oh, boxing, boxing, boxing. But pro wrestling actually dug.
It's the one that started it.
Yes.
Man, see,
Just said.
all you
Just saying.
guys owe a lot to pro wrestling. Whether
Yeah.
you guys want to, whether the sports world wants to admit it or not, pro wrestling, even okay, it's not a big happy thing to say, but even politically, wrestling's in politics. The
It is
McMahon
absolutely.
family.
Okay. You know about the George Washington story, right?
Oh, fill me in. Do we got time?
Okay. Yes, we got fucking time. You got
Okay.
time? I'm
Yeah,
good.
I got time. I'm good.
All right. So here's the deal. So when they were, I forgot what, and especially with like the whole Capitol thing, it's kind of fresh in memory. But I don't know if it was the Capitol itself or what have you. But they were trying to do. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it was, right? But essentially, George Washington came in the room, full fucking regalia, all his military uniform, and it looked like a fucking cape, right? And he
Yeah.
walks in to wherever they're fucking making the votes and shit like that. And George Washington, amongst, around that time, most people stood 5'5" and
Yeah.
all that, whatever.
But shorter.
George Washington
He was
was
tall as
legit, yeah, legit at least 6'2", that's what I'm getting, right? And he comes in full on military
everything.
fucking, yeah, fucking powdered wing on point and shit like that. And what the fuck is that coming into the room from the back to the front and whatever and speaking your voice? He did a fucking pro wrestling entrance. It's with that. And of course, he was a fucking, general and what have you. But
True.
that right there is what got him to be the very first president of the United States.
That's true. That is a fucking entrance. Hey, he did the Undertaker.
Yeah, he did that. George Washington did the Undertaker and became president.
The Undertaker
That's it.
owes everything to George Washington.
George Washington. I mean, it's thin blue line as fuck, but I mean, it's, right? I mean, so that's it. I mean, Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln was a fucking wrestler.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, that's what I'm saying. Like, when people are like, oh, I watch WWE, I watch AEW, I watch whatever, I watch UFC, I watch, fuck, watch everything. Watch everything. And at the time where it's more accessible, watch your indie shit. Watch your fucking, regional MMA scene and whatever. Because, again, of all the, in the last 5 years that I've been doing interviews and shit like that, if I had $1 for every time that some amateur that nobody think was going to go fuck all anywhere, and now they're in the UFC, now they're in Bellator, now they're making fucking big money, like pro wrestlers that were on the indie scene that I bought a t-shirt from at a fucking whatever, and now they're on fucking WWE Network and fucking AEW, everywhere. Support everyone, because especially right now, we need support. Everybody, if you're an artist, if you're a person that worked a fucking job 30 years and whatever, the Dusty Rhodes promo, the hard times, they kick you in the ass, and fucking say a computer took you in your place. Dusty Rhodes promos are 2020. That's essentially it.
It's never changed. It's always been for the relatable, the hardworking. Like, bro, they still hold weight like they were written yesterday. You know what I mean? So it's like, bro, like there's just a magic about pro wrestling, man. That, like, no matter how you look at it or where you look at it from, it hits you or has connected to your life in some way.
Yeah.
Some way. Like, it doesn't have to be direct. It can be the smallest little tidbit. But then when you think about it, it's the biggest freaking tidal wave that's been created. It's like the freaking butterfly flapping its wings, creating a tsunami somewhere else. You just the exact same thing, bro. Like, you just don't know until you actually like break it down like Batman, you know?
Look at even, and again, this is not hyperbole, right? Even people that have in other legitimate sports employed a bit of pro wrestling in it, they become larger than life figures. There's a reason why Mike Tyson grew up watching Bruno Sammartino. There's a reason why Floyd fucking was a part of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
that's fact, right? That's fact. Muhammad Ali grew up watching fucking Gorgeous George and Classy Freddie Blassie,
and that's how he got his persona.
Like, yes.
Like, he was he said his favorite, like, reason why he loved Gorgeous George is because he was like he's a pretty boy that everybody hate. And then, but he broke it down like the reason why he likes him is because people are paying to still see him.
Yeah,
you know, like they want to see his pretty face get beat up. You know, like man, like there's aspect in wrestling that, for some reason, the universe loves.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Look no further, right? Look no further. If you want to talk MMA, right? The first family of all martial arts, right? Even like literally pole vaulting, Bruce Lee's family is the Gracies, right?
The Gracies.
Who the fuck is a Gracie hunter? Who's a Gracie killer? Sakuraba. What was Sakuraba? A fucking catch wrestler.
Like, bro.
Just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. And yeah, so that's the thing, and Sakuraba is friends with Barnett, and again, another Pacific Northwest guy, originally Josh Barnett, the War Master. So, I mean, it's just, it's there, and again, look at Bryan Danielson. You look at the Red Dragon now, the Undisputed Era, right? Yep. Everybody that does, fucking Roman Reigns is doing fucking, one-arm chokes and shit like that. He's straight out disrespectful because you pull guard, like all the fucking jiu-jitsu heads will be on you. Like, bitch, you forgot to fucking pull guard? You can't pull guard in the street. You fucking break your back. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But he does it, right? The fucking WWE, Undertaker's Gogo Plot and people, and calling it the Hell's Gate and shit like that.
Even triangling people for a while.
Yeah, that's it. Vader with the fucking gloves, Goldberg with the gloves, Taker with the gloves, right? That's it. So I'm just saying, and I think that when people implore, that's why I say, for fighters, for wrestling, like, I think everybody should have every social media account, right? JustexCiting should be everywhere, right? Because you don't want to be like fucking Jim Ross, right? And you start to get heat, and then somebody takes Jim Ross, the official Jim Ross and shit like that, and you got to settle for JRSBBQ, right? But right. So when Dana White, right, not other than these, the president of the biggest, I mean, most people would even say is the biggest pro wrestling company, right? Right? Is the UFC. Yeah. That's the biggest pro wrestling company. Yeah. So with that being said, when he's telling you that this is not a career, this is an opportunity, that tells me that your money, your fame, your everything, it's not going to come from whatever promotion that it works for. It's the Al Snow principle. If you're a professional wrestler, if you're a professional athlete, you will never be out of work, right? Because you can work anywhere. Anywhere. So that's the thing, and I implore everybody that is in this. Again, you are the CEO of your own company. Now, it's up to you to make sure whether that company is bargain basement or a multi-million dollar company. And again, look, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's pro wrestling as fuck. He's doing the Vince walk.
Doing the Vince walk? That's all.
Vince walk and Ric Flair. Just saying.
It goes hand in hand, man. It's combat. You sell tickets. You put a card together. You freaking have matches. You have promos. You have the hype ups that lead to it. You have the sit down contract signings. You have everything. You have everything that's in pro wrestling. You have the personalities. You have the humble superstars. You have the superstars that are freaking cocky as hell, that are assholes. You have the hungry up and comers. You have the grizzled veterans. You have you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And just like in society, the more that you have of everybody represented, the better society as a whole will be, right? So, so when you see, obviously after COVID or whatever, and it's safe to do so, when you see a regional MMA fight, or you might see a regional or indie pro wrestling deal, go to it. Because again, everybody wants to catch lightning in a bottle, but you would love to say you were there then, and look at that person now.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly. Especially in Seattle and in Washington, there's a shitload of MMA fights. There's a shitload of promotions. Like, it's a plethora. So just pick your vice and support it. Pick your vice.
Absolutely. But I mean, there have been a litany of people that have supported you in your little walks to the ring. So I want you to get some shout outs out of the way, my man.
Okay, first and foremost, shout out to my mentor and my trainer, Randy Taylor, the pimp. Hey, I see you. I'm gonna see you when COVID's over, Bob. Shout out to my boy BB Bad Blood. Shout out to my boy Lone Star. Shout out to my man. I just got so many friends. Mike Medina, aka Congo. Tim Hughes. Man, I just got so many. Freaking Shabata-san. Hiroki Goto-san. Clark, I see you. Oh, you got everybody who's done hold your boy down. Man, 2021 shows get back. I'm gonna have to be everywhere. I'm about to be in Vegas. Future Stars Wrestling. I'm gonna hit you up soon. I'm about to be over on the Florida. Everybody down there, I'm gonna hit you up soon. Up here, everybody here, I'm gonna hit you up soon. Especially Unify, and then down in California. I'm everywhere. PCW, come back. Now let's go. Oh, Hood Slam, come back too. Everybody come back. Let's get wrestling back going. Wear your masks. Do your little COVID checks on the head like that. Everything. And social media. Holla at me at I Am Just Exciting on Twitter. I Am Just Exciting on Instagram. Right here. Spencer Just Exciting on Facebook. Find me. Holla at me. I'm down. Coast to coast elbow. I'm the only one in professional wrestling who can do a coast to coast elbow. I have not seen it yet. If you have seen it, link me, and I'm gonna post up the dates, because I've been doing the coast to coast elbow since 2017.
That man know. I'm just saying. Hell yes. Damn, champ, it has been an honor and privilege of having you here. I can't wait to see what 2021 brings you and the rest of your storied career. And I think you got off to a rousing start, man. But
thank you, man. It was a pleasure being here, bro. I was trying to catch up with you for a while.
Dude, we got it done, and I couldn't be happier, But thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, I warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Yeah, we're on Twitch too, right? I mean, just exciting. Champ, you're subscribed, right?
Yeah, of course.
Dang right. Because that's what we do. We got to support each other. But if you don't believe me, you don't believe Just Exciting, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but here's Zeta Zhang to convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to